I'm J.S. Garrett, and this is From the Ashes interview series. I have with me a very special guest today. He requires no introduction, but I'm going to roll out the red carpet for him anyway. He is the author of 5 occult classics and the founder of From the Ashes Publishing. I give you S. Ben Kane. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, shit, man. Thank you. It's a pleasure to get on and chat with you, and it has been too long. I just, I've really been looking forward to getting on and talking with you. I've been reading through a few of your novels here, or your grimoires. I've got the Black Book of Azagthoth, which you gifted to me in person. It was a great honor to meet you. And I've been reading that, and just, holy shit, man. You've taken this and turned it into a system that is not only understandable, but very practical and applicable as well. It's one of the most complete grimoires I've ever studied, and I think that even a novice could pick that up and get results with it. So, congratulations on bringing that to the world. That is some really good stuff. And then you have your newest book, Thamael, The Dark Divided Ones. I'm about halfway through reading that right now, and it is just as impressive. You've got a couple of rights in there that I'm definitely going to have some questions for you about. Now, you've got my personal favorite, the Book of Smokeless Fire, which was recently deemed the most evil book ever written. Well, I can tell you that is, it's definitely probably one of the deadliest books ever written. That's going in my toolbox for World War III. And until then, I will be regarding that with a lot of respect and caution. But that's another very complete system that I think just about anybody could pick up, and if they followed these step-by-step instructions, they would get mind-blowing results with that as well.
Yeah, it has been reported to definitely get results.
Yeah, I've read the reviews online. I know several magicians that have practiced from that book personally, and they've described it as terrifying and effective. So, right. That's something that
description.
I'll probably never stop reading that. But anyway, I just wanted to jump on and talk with you a little bit. You recently rolled out From the Ashes Publishing, which I am honored to be a part of. I have some rituals listed on there, along with several other incredible magicians like Sorcerer Renarius, Guy Creasy, J.D. Temple, Orly Stewart. I'm missing anyone there? Edgar Kervol also. Yes. So that's something that's still taken off. It's been very exciting so far, and I want to get on and do this on a regular basis. Just drop a podcast every week or so. I'd like to have each member of the house on, and I'd love if you and I could get on here and talk, on a regular basis as well.
Sounds good to me.
Hell yeah. Well, some of the things that I wanted to touch on today. One of the very first books that you ever recommended that I read when I first started working with you was, it was written by Carlo. It was The Teachings of Don Juan, A Yaqui Way of Knowledge by Carlos Castaneda.
Yeah.
Now, you were also the head of the Order of the Voltec, which was based on some of those teachings as well.
Right. Head of the Inner Order, so it's a little bit of difference. Not the entire order, but head of the inner workings at one time. So yeah. Okay. All
right. Very cool. Well, reading that book was very fascinating to me because it really touched on a lot of shamanic practices. I mean, that's what the entire book was about, was Mexican shamanism. And there were some things in there to do with utilizing and working with wild animals and their magical practice. There was a very specific ritual where the initiate had to go out into the desert and find 2 lizards, and then makes a concoction, and actually using the lizard, apply that concoction to his temples in order to induce an altered state.
Right.
And I've had some pretty crazy experiences myself working with wild animals that I would just randomly encounter. And so, I want to talk about that a little bit. I mean, what do you think the deal with animals is when it comes to magic? It seems that spirits are able to quite easily possess wild animals in order to interact with us physically. I mean, do you think that's what's going on?
I do think so to some degree. I mean, you know, you talk about working with animals and spirit animals. Spirit guides come to mind. I mean, familiars come to mind. These things have, you know, been recorded since people have been working magic. I believe that, you know, like minerals, rocks, you know, different trees, different elements. Everything has its own kind of spirit, its own kind of voice, its own kind of energy. And so when you're talking about spirits or excuse me, talking about different animals, they too have their own kind of spirit or voice to them. And they do speak, you know, and that's something that, you know, that it's definitely more your specialty, more of the shamanic kind of workings with animals. I've had experience with animals, but definitely you kind of take the cake in that regard as far as some of the things that have happened to you. You know, it's like every week there's a new animal that you found that has run into you or crossed your path in some way that has guided you somehow. But I think that, you know, that they definitely are a strong magical link to work with, you know, for a magician to work with. And it's something that's often forgotten also. You know, it's like more ceremonial magic has kind of gotten away from that to some degree. And a lot of the more primal practices or systems, religions, really do tap into that animal aspect that is kind of being weeded out, I think. So I think it's something that really should be, you know, attention should be brought to it a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. And I mean, to me, magic is very primal. When you get to the root of it, it's a very primal energy that flows through the magician when he's wielding these practices. And I mean, I live out in the woods, so I mean, there's a lot of animals around anyway. But it seems like every couple of weeks I'm having some type of strange encounter with some type of wild animal, and that usually ends up becoming some type of path working that I end up doing with that creature. And it's something that every magical system out there that I've found touches on a little bit, you know, some more than others, but it's also something that seems to have faded over time. They've kind of got away from those primal roots. And I really think that spirits on some level will influence or even possess wild animals in order to interact with us physically. Now, this is probably because animals theoretically would be easier to possess because they are not quite as complex as the human neocortex. But I don't know. I really think there's more to it than that as well. I think that it's very possible that each creature has a magical current or a energetic current that causes the physical manifestation of that species on this plane.
Right. No, I completely agree.
So when you tap into that, you're really tapping into the God essence of that creature. I mean, it's some shamanic practices. It's said that every creature has a master spirit of that creature, which would be kind of like a primal God in a sense.
Well, you know, I mean, we were just talking about Carlos Castaneda, you know, and the teachings of Don Juan, and in those teachings, in those ways, there are every plant has its own spirit. This is something that's also taught through, you know, the Libra Falcifer kind of currents, the canine currents as well. And so it's every spirit resides within a different kind of tree or bush or different kinds of elements like this. So when you're talking about that, it makes sense that every kind of, you know, spirit or every kind of animal also has a magical current that you're tapping into and utilizing specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember reading somewhere that, I mean, for instance, like every plant in the jungle just about has some type of use, you know, whether is to be poisonous or medicinal or magical in a sense. And, you know, part of me's got to wonder, like, how the hell did they ever figure all this out? I mean, you think of humans back in their caveman stage, you know, just experimenting by eating different plants or mixing. I mean, how did they ever come up with the formula to ayahuasca? You know,
Right.
that's combining like 3 different plants and boiling it down. And
Right.
yeah, so I mean, it's said that the ancient shamans used to pick up these plants and hold them in their hand and somehow tap into that current in order to divine what its usage was for.
They would say that the plants would speak to them.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yes.
really commune with them on that kind of spiritual deeper level where they were able to know and have that kind of connection with them.
Which indicates a consciousness behind that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and to see that again, Don Juan's teachings as well, is that there's a consciousness, there's an ally that you know, and this kind of goes along with this as well. You know, we have spirit guys, but there's a consciousness that, you know, you connect with or don't, and there's different spirit animals or different plants that you actually can connect with. You have to kind of find your match, essentially. You know, so there's a lot of different kinds, and it's kind of about finding which one connects with you or aligns with you, to kind of take you further. So yeah, I think that, you know, there's definitely a consciousness that's involved with this, within spirits, or I'm sorry, within animals as well as plants as well. You know, and that's kind of interesting because when you look at like drug addicts in a way, when someone's addicted to putting a certain drug into their body, a certain plant into their body, every single time they're communing with this actually on a deeper level than a lot of people normally would. Same thing with, you know, like the mushrooms or ayahuasca or these kinds of things. You know, you're actually ingesting this consciousness within you. It's actually flowing through your veins, and so there's definitely a deeper communion there than just, you know, I guess, you know, eating it as well would works, but you know, it's having that kind of connection to these kind of spirits that I think that the shaman really have had in the past, and had that really communication open up with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think this is something that's become so overlooked that it is just, it's mind blowing how far we've gotten away from those primal roots. I mean, modern grimoires, you know, they're full of great stuff, you know, they're full of great rituals, but you don't really see a whole lot of plant usage or animal fetish links or spirits called upon anymore. And so that's something that I've been really working for the past several years on my off time, composing a grimoire, I guess you could say, just my own personal experiences and working with different creatures as well as plants. But yeah, that's something I'd really like to bring back a little bit and get us back to those primal roots. I definitely wanted to see what your thoughts on that was, since you're one of the people that gave me some guidance in that area. So, yeah.
You know, it's the trend of grimoires is interesting right now. You know, we're seeing, well, it's not so much the grimoires themselves, it's that they're following the trend right now of politically correct. Everything has to be so politically correct. Everything has to be so perfect to please everybody, to make sure that you don't offend everybody. All religions, all faiths, all, you know, political backgrounds, all kinds, you know. So it's difficult now that we're watching some of these harder core methods or systems kind of be diluted over time. And so some of the stuff that you're doing, working with these spirits, you know, working with blood sacrifice, things like this, is really getting back down to these roots, and getting this kind of result that you're getting. You know, I think, you know, the results that you get from your rituals are astounding. And everybody has their own way, you know, but I think that you're really tapping into a primal source. You know, I think that we, you know, use that word primal a lot, but it's really a really good description of this kind of working, you know. And, you know, and that's the thing, is like these earlier magicians, they did get the results because they did tap into these different kinds of energies. You know, we can't forget that, you know, so.
Yeah,
it's definitely something that I think needs to be brought back in. I'm glad that you're writing this book. I think it's really going to be eye-opening and really, really useful. You know, to have this kind of knowledge, this kind of shamanic animal knowledge, brought back into the left-hand path. It's like a it's like a left-hand path shamanic grimoire, which is just great. You know, no one's done that. I think that it's really going to help, like I said, you know, bring these kind of currents back into current times, back into modern times, in a way that is useful, in a way that's beneficial, in a way that people can actually use. So showing this kind of older technology, you know, kind of being re-brought back into the future, re-brought back into current times, is definitely something that is needed. So I think
yeah, man. Thank you. And yeah, it's something I've noticed with modern day shamanism is it's very predominantly right-hand path. You know, you've got the white shamans and the gray shamans and the yellow shamans. I don't really fully understand what all that's about, honestly. But if you look into old world shamanism, a lot of that was very dark in nature. I mean, some of the Native American shamanisms, like the stories and legends that you can read about these shamans, like they were very scary. I mean, they were widely feared and respected, and like there's a whole aspect there that I think has been all but wiped out of history, and it's nearly impossible to find anyone that has this type of knowledge that's willing to share it. So that's something I'm trying to do, is rediscover some of that and bring it back for sure. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate you talking about that with me a little bit. I don't want to take up the entire podcast talking about what I'm working on here, but you have a new ritual that you're offering through From the Ashes to do with Lucifer. This is a monthly working, correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know, kind of like what's in the description. This has been something that's been ongoing a long time. People have asked me over and over, and I really want to participate in ritual, and so much of the time, you know, that the price is just out of their reach. You know, and I think before we go into that, is like people really need to understand how much effort, energy, planning, personalization goes into a ritual. So the prices, you know, that rituals are set at, I think, are very fair. Not everybody can reach that. Not everybody, you know, is able to do that at this time in their life. But they still want to access magical ritual. They still want to access, you know, this kind of energy in their life. And so what this rite is, the blazing circle, as I've called it, is something that I've done monthly, and it's just something that I was doing personally for myself. It wasn't really even meant to be something that was public, but I thought, you know, this is great. I do this every month. This is something that's benefiting me, and I think that other people can benefit from this as well. And so I've kind of opened up the gates to my personal practice, just on a monthly level, where everybody is able to join in. You know, $19.97, you can't go wrong. Usually normal, you know, rituals are $500.
Yeah.
This is a way for everybody to throw their name into the pot and have Lucifer bless them on their spiritual ascent that next month. And I think it was just a real powerful rite that I was happy to share with people. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. So you're going to be doing this once a month?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's something that people can sign up for, to where the payment automatically comes out every month, or is it like a month by month basis that they have to sign up?
At this time, it's definitely a month by month where they'll have to sign up. But, you know, I'm looking into auto draft and stuff like that, but we'll see. But at this time, you know, it's really just for people that wanted to come in and you know, once a month, join up. There is a yearly subscription if you already knew you wanted to, you know, do it for a whole year or whatnot, you just sign up for the whole year. So there's that option as well. But
yeah, that's awesome.
Kind of opening the doors for anybody who wants to join me, you know, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's something that most people can afford, and yeah, I think they'd be surprised what they get out of something like that. You know,
yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just kind of like a monthly protection. You know, monthly energizing and monthly kind of opening up a path. It's not a specific ritual for anything. You know, I do advise going and getting specific rituals if you have things in mind, but it's just kind of an overall protection and guidance, you know, and that's kind of nice to have.
Well, it'd also be a great way to boost other magicians in their own practice, I would think. You know, if you're already working towards accomplishing your goals using ritual magic, It would not hurt at all to have a skilled, experienced magician doing a working like that for you once a month.
It doesn't hurt.
I would think that would really be the difference between success and failure for a lot of people. And yeah, so that's great. I really commend you for doing that. And yeah, I'm sure I will be participating in that as well. So well, yeah, thanks for offering that.
Of course, yeah. Again, it's just something that the public could freely access without having to really plan financially, too much. So.
Awesome. Well, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is something that I've been contemplating off and on, really, probably since the beginning, since I really started practicing hardcore. I really feel that a lot, I'm not saying all, because there's all different types of spirits, including astral egregores that we've created ourselves. But I believe that a lot of these really ancient spiritual intelligences may actually be in physical form, either on another dimension, another plane of existence, or possibly another planet. So it would only make sense that if we humans can astral project at will, some of us, I'm not one of them personally, but there are several magicians that I know that are able to do this quite easily after a lot of practice. So if we're able to project ourselves, then wouldn't you think that a more intelligent, older species of creature would be able to do this from other worlds in order to interact with us in spirit form? I think they exist physically as well. What do you think about that?
I would have to agree with you 100%. And like you said, not all of them, surely, but quite a few. And here you're kind of touching on a lot of stuff Lovecraft had actually talked about with interdimensional beings, magic being not magic, if you will, but a technology, an alien technology, if you will, to break down different barriers, to open up portals to these other dimensions.
Yeah.
And some of the older ones themselves, now it's under controversy, and a lot of people don't necessarily believe that this kind of system. But if those do hear the call, they know what I'm talking about. It's said that the old ones actually have a physical form as well as a spiritual form, and so there's that. But it's also I'm talking about looking at the jinn as well, and the origin of the jinn and being actually another race upon the earth that's not spirit. They were not just classified as spirits. There were the angels, there were the jinn, and there were men. They were made of course, smokeless fire. They were forged with smokeless fire. And so it talks about them actually having their own free will, being their own race of people, essentially. There's good ones, there's bad ones. They have, essentially, their society is set up supposedly very much like ours. And so there's this kind of layering. We have our dimension, and there's another dimension that's kind of right on top of ours that we cannot see, and yet they are able to communicate with us. They are able to see us and interact in our world a lot more easily than we can in theirs. And so it's definitely interesting. A lot of people have said, even with aliens, as we call aliens, what is alien? Pretty much everything is alien, but our classic idea of aliens being the Greys, it's said that even doing rituals can open doors and bring them as well. And I actually do believe this. It's again, stepping away from the Harry Potter idea of magic and really looking at it as a technology. That it makes perfect sense as far as a vehicle to be able to communicate with them as well. And I think Crowley did a lot of that stuff with Lamb.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind really when we start talking about this. When you brought up the Greys, is Crowley's accounts of encountering an entity known as Lamb, who looks like a gray alien according to the drawing that he did of this entity. So and there was a lot of stuff that he didn't tell about those experiences. Like, I mean, there's not a whole lot of detail there as far as what actually transpired between him and this entity. And I'm guessing he was either sworn to secrecy or it was so terrifying that he didn't share it with the world. I'm not sure which. But
yeah, it was some chapters missing from his book, so where he talked about Lamb, and so it was some lost information about that particular entity. We can only kind of guess, as far as what happened or what transpired there. So there are actually offshoot OTO groups that exclusively work with Lamb in that kind of current. I've kind of explored some of that stuff. Edgar Kergel and I were actually at one point going to be writing a book called The Lamb Project. And so I had kind of done some pretty in-depth meditations / magical work in evoking Lamb, actually. And I have to tell you that the impressions, the feelings that I got were, I have to say, quite sinister. And I had left the door open. I wasn't really expecting a positive experience, a negative experience. I had kind of suspended, my expectation. But what came through was really quite sinister. Yeah, it's interesting when you're working with entities, any kind of system, any kind of work. You generally have kind of an expectation of what you're going to expect, and that can definitely throw you off when you open that door, and what comes through it has a totally different feeling than what you were expecting. And that's kind of what happened with Lamb. So
sounds intense.
Yeah, it really was. And to each their own, I suppose. But yeah, I definitely believe that the technology of working with angles and the different the static energy within angles definitely helps unlock some of those interdimensional portals. Yeah,
and a lot of the like geometric shapes and figures that we see in a lot of old grimoires, I mean, they look alien. They look like, some of the things you see in crop circles and things like that. So, yeah, I really think that's probably the case here. All right, you're froze. Did we lose connection? All right, yeah, we froze there for a second, but yeah, that's electronics for you. Anyway, yeah, I think that's very possible that many of the entities that we interact with are in physical form on some plane, dimension, or planet, which is very interesting as to why they would want to interact with us humans. I think it's quite a big mystery, and there's all kinds of shit going on. I mean, any day you look on the internet, there's a new UFO sighting or new Bigfoot sighting, something like that. And there's often like UFO sightings surrounding Bigfoot sightings. So, I mean, you really got to wonder. We don't know shit. There's all kinds of It's a very strange world that we live in, and we're very sheltered in a lot of ways. We're not privy to that information. So,
kind of losing your mic there a little bit.
I am, huh? Let's see. How about I unplug it? Better?
No.
Yeah. I think these aliens are fucking with us. They don't.
I think it was better with the mic, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they don't like that we're talking about them, so they're gonna fuck with my microphone. That's what's going on. Okay. It was probably Bigfoot. I heard he doesn't like talked about. So. Yeah. Okay. How about now?
There you go.
All right, cool. Yeah, so we will change the subject so we will stop getting interference.
Yeah.
But
getting a little too close to the truth there.
Yeah. But anyway, one of the things that we were discussing not too long ago was doing live ritual demonstrations online where one or more magicians from the Ashes Publishing would set a date and time that people could sign up for a very affordable price, say like $19.95, where we would do a live ritual working that they could all participate in. So is that something that we're thinking about doing in the near future? Because I think people would really like that.
There's a lot in the works right now. So yes, absolutely. One of the things that has been thrown around is that idea, as well as a few others. We're always looking for advancement, always looking to expand, always looking to do new things and keep things fresh, new content, new things going on. So I always want people involved. help keep things going, you know. So a lot of new ideas. So yeah, absolutely. You know, there is a monthly ritual that's going on. I believe this month we got JD Temple that is working on some healing rituals. So you know, there's definitely some stuff that's going on that you want to check out. It's on www.fromtheashespublishing.com. If you're just cruising around the site, there'll be a newsletter or information there. You can type your email in, and you'll be signed up for the newsletter. It always comes out each week. In fact, the newsletter this Sunday already just went out just here a little bit ago. So every Sunday, we've got new content coming out, keeping updates, keeping everybody updated with everything going on. So
sounds awesome. Well, yeah, I will be thrilled to be a part of that for sure. One thing I wanted to ask you about pertaining to the Book of Smokeless Fire, real quick before we hang up. There is a ritual in here that you describe as being a ritual that you recommend doing in order to prepare for the rituals that are found in this book.
Right.
It consists of going out into the woods with very, very minimum tools.
Right.
There was a bowl of water and some other very minor tools.
Right.
Where they conduct a visualization of a black serpent coming out of the woods and crawling into them.
Right.
It's like a purification ritual almost, is what it sounds like. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. That's something that I recommend actually doing about once every 3 months, actually. And I actually had talked about, this is a similar rite that was actually included in the Black Book as well, working with Nyarlathotep, being the Black Serpent being an actual incarnation or a form of Nyarlathotep as well. But it can be done, just with the Black Serpent, just with the left-hand path kind of current. And it's basically is exactly a purification. It kind of resets one's energy every 3 months, and it kind of gives you that kind of protection, rejuvenates yourself, realigns. It's kind of like a realignment to the current, and kind of immersing oneself into that current. Just like I said, about every 3 months, it's really kind of good to go ahead and do that, and just kind of reset yourself. So it's definitely a powerful ritual for sure.
Yeah, that was one of the most fascinating things to me in that book. And it would seem like doing that would change a person forever. It would seem like,
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I write about pretty much has permanent effects upon people.
Yeah. Do you think that could cause maybe a genetic alteration on some level, maybe activating something that lies dormant? I mean, we have several strands of DNA that are dormant within us. And it would seem like that would trigger some type of transformation doing that ritual.
It's hard to say. It's like definitely an awakening when someone does something like this, and when you're aligning to some kind of currents like that. There's definitely like something that awakens, and you can call it or consider it DNA. Kind of realigning if you want spiritually. One is aligning. There's a lot of what they consider junk DNA in what we have, so it's hard to say all of what is involved there. A lot of that's been thrown around a lot lately. A lot of DNA has been thrown around a lot. Structuring your DNA, changing your DNA to align with these different kinds of currents. I think it's a really interesting subject in philosophy. I don't see, I believe that our exterior appearance definitely has to do with our interior influence, or how our spirit looks influences. So I think that what we're doing on a spiritual level absolutely affects us on a physical level. So I don't know about changing DNA, but I would say that there would definitely be some alignments there that people would wake up to or align to, which would change essentially, I guess, your DNA or your physical structure to some degree.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on what you just said, that our interior does seem to influence how we look on the exterior. Now, that's something that you don't hear people talk about, and I think it's mainly because a lot of people would get offended. The whole beauty's only skin deep, in inner beauty. And then you start talking about like inner beauty and inner ugly, and
right.
It really hurts some feelings talking about that. But I have noticed myself, and I've noticed a lot of other people seem to change physically on the outside and how they look and even act and feel by the magical currents that they are working. So Absolutely. There would be currents that would deteriorate you physically, They cause you
Absolutely.
to become less attractive, and there would be currents that would enhance your health and physical beauty as well.
I couldn't agree more. You know? And yeah, it's true. You know, I mean, again, politically correct, but I mean, I wasn't really trying to hurt anybody's feelings with that at all. But
we don't want to hurt any feelings, because then they'll have to pay
it is what I believe.
And that is never pleasant. Okay, that is never pleasant, but it is free. It is totally free, because JS cares about everyone's feelings.
No, I do believe that. You know, I do believe that. You know, energy. It's all about like intent and how things interact with other things. You know, everything's connected, and so you know, obviously, you know how we are inside our core being, which I don't believe our flesh is. You know, so I believe that definitely influences how we are, how we look. And you're right. You know, working different currents. Yeah, I mean, you know, you talk about some of the like you know, Cthulhu currents and current 23s and stuff like that. You know, you go into insanity in a lot of ways. They're just pure chaos, and it definitely has an effect on people. So, you know, yeah, what one immerses themselves into definitely has an effect. But I believe, you know, besides that, there's just a core essence that people have that definitely influences their outward appearance. So.
Yeah. So I think if someone wanted to change their physical appearance, they could do that through working with specific entities for that purpose, undergoing possession and things like that. Like for instance, with my rite of deification, I've had several clients book me for that ritual for the purpose of weight loss. Okay. And they are getting results. And that's something that starts on an energetic level. I mean, I'm not doing anything to them physically. I'm doing a ritual for them to empower them energetically and empower their spirit. And I've found that whenever I have their spirit present, I'm able to direct that energy. I'm essentially cutting out all the middlemen and petitioning their spirit directly to use the energy from that sacrifice for a specific purpose.
Right.
Losing weight. And I've got some clients that have lost a drastic amount of weight in just a few months from doing that. So I would think if someone wanted to look more feminine or more masculine, they could undergo possession with a feminine or masculine deity. Like if they were to undergo possession with say Belial, they would become more masculine, because Belial is very, very masculine.
Right.
And if they were to undergo possession with Astarte, then they could become more feminine. And I've noticed with women who undergo possession with her, their skin usually looks better. Their breasts will look fuller.
They kind of glow, right?
Yeah, they really freaking glow around them. And even mundane people will comment that they look like they're glowing. Like I've heard that multiple times. So yeah, I mean, I really think that we're a lot more fluid than anything. Our energy is not necessarily solid. If this is indeed a holographic universe, then we should be able to change our physical appearance through the works that we do.
I believe that, and again, that's all energy work. And everything's energy. You know, so it's all about intent, essentially, when it comes down to.
Yeah, anything's possible.
I believe that a lot is possible. Much more than what we would limit ourselves to. Absolutely. This is the avenue to do that. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this, right? I mean, we're pushing the boundaries of science, pushing the boundaries of what is possible and what is not. I mean, we're out here. We're the explorers. We're the guys doing this, seeing, hey, what reality are we in? How can we bend this reality to fit our, our desires, to fit, we want to look a certain way or be a certain way or have a certain kind of life or this is the idea behind magic that everybody's after, is be able to manipulate the reality around us to do this, So
Exactly. And if we only do what other people have done, then we never discover anything new.
No.
Which is why, at a certain point you have to throw all the books out the window and start cutting your own path and making your own discoveries, doing your own experiments. I mean, I definitely recommend reading certain books because it's important to build a foundation of knowledge in what the hell you're doing and dealing with. but once you reach a certain point in your magical education, you have to throw out everything that other people have done and cut your own path.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting. It's like learning all these different books, reading all these different books, building a foundation of magical understanding. That's important. But once you understand the building blocks of what make magic work, all the different variables, then you're able to take these things and you're like a building set of Legos, if you will. You're able to not only follow a blueprint or the instructions to build a house or a car or whatever it is that the set is supposed to build. You can take these building blocks and create whatever it is that you want. Once you have the idea of what building blocks, what makes this all work together, you can put it together in ways that are new, that still work. You have to understand the rules or the base rules in order to be able to do that. And I think that's right now, I think what's really crippling a lot of people in magic. And there's actually a book I'm getting back to writing right now that's hopefully gonna help that. But it's really getting into the quantum physics, or really getting into the base science of reality, consciousness, intent, magic, all of it, really getting behind the scenes of it all, to where you can take these building blocks and really go forth. So that's exciting. Yeah, it's like they say. I was told, in school in a poetry class, it's like once you learn all the rules to poetry, you can throw all the rules out. There are really no rules, but you have to understand the base rules to understand that there are no rules. So
makes total sense.
With it all.
Well, hell yeah. Well, yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing that book drop as well. Well, I think that's a good note to end it on, man. It's been a blast just sitting here shooting the shit with you. I look forward to doing this a lot more in the future.
Absolutely. Something that we will be doing for sure.
Absolutely. We are just getting started here at From the Ashes Publishing. You're going to see a lot more great content coming from all of us in the very near future. So stay tuned and hit that like button, and we'll look forward to next time.